Right.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is roll call. All 5 council members are present. Next item on the agenda is consider approving the minutes held from May 14th. I make a motion to approve those minutes. Motions are made, seconded by Kelly. All in favor? Next item up is new business, solar ordinance. Kelly.
Nate and I have been working with Drummond Woodsum on our solar moratorium. The 180 days is up. We got it back from the lawyer maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and then the planning board.
I have just had sorry if I'm gonna interrupt. I just had a few people at the planning board. I had a quorum, but I didn't have enough of the board. They didn't feel that they had enough people there to discuss what the ordinance was. So we're gonna wait until June, our meeting in June, and go through it.
So they meet June 17th, and with the solar moratorium, we can do one extension of 180 days. So that's what I would like to ask for, an extension of the solar moratorium so that the planning board can vet the new ordinance, and then we'll bring it to you for a first reading in July.
Kelly.
Are we as a council gonna have more education on this? Because I thought that's what the first 180 days were to better educate us on creating an ordinance.
It was, well, we had an ordinance, so we wanted to amend the ordinance to limit the square footage of a solar array. Commercial use to make it.
So we do have, Kelly, we just got it from Drummond Woodsum. So we do have the draft, but the planning board has reviewed it all together at once. Just a few of our members that were there. We had 2 members and then an alternate there. So like the major body of the planning board wasn't there to look at it. So Rick McKenzie, he was running the meeting that day. He said, "Put this table and wait till we could actually get a full group of people."
Because they have to look at the ordinance.
Yeah, they have to look at it first.
They have to do it first.
Great, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd make a motion that we do that. Motion is made that we extend it. Mr. Nutting, seconded. All in favor? Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Next item up, accept an award grant for Summer Library Children's Program.
Yep. Sheila received a $1,200 grant from the mothers group. And she wants to use it for children's programming for the summer programs. She'd like you to accept it.
It's a motion, we authorize her to do that. Motions were made, we authorize and accept it. Kelly, you got a second?
Yep.
Kelly seconds, all in favor?
Yep.
ATV road access through Maine DOT.
So, we've applied for the grant, to the municipal ATV grant that I asked permission to just submit it last meeting. Now the next process is to get access to roads. Oak Street and 10 Lot Street are our streets under our jurisdiction. Right now, if you're going up Oak Street and you hit 10 lots, the trail on the left is groomed and ready and open because the state just resurfaced all of that. They are working to the right, which would go from 10 lots into our area to come up to Pleasant Street. They are working on that. I think they've been in there, or they're going in that side.
I think they're in there now.
You think they're in there
I
now?
know they were in there the other day measuring the bridges.
Yeah, so they're gonna be,
Saturday
wasn't anything.
anything started.
Okay, so I've been working with Kevin, who's the trail master, to open the road from the church on 10 lots to the trail. But if we open it to corner store and to the railroad track, they'd be able to get food and gas I don't know if we want to go that much right now or just have it open. From the church to the trail. It kind of makes sense to go corner store to the church.
Kind of makes sense to go to the corner store and the gas station
Fabian.
here.
Yeah,
Seriously, just because maybe some people don't want to buy Fabian gas, and I'm just saying, they don't have a credit card for that, they have a
I'm
credit card.
pretty sure Pleasant Street's a state road, so that's one that I'm going to apply for access to. Same with Main Street, that's a state road, so I have to apply. It's a pretty simple one-page application.
Yep.
But if we wanted to give our approval now, when you get the state approval, it'd be all done, right, for that? Around the triangle,
Correct.
and I think that's what's gonna bring the businesses in, the business.
Oh,
the
yeah,
Town
the people in town.
stores and stuff, we got 2 or 3 places for them to eat, get gas. A couple of banks where they can stop and get more money to spend.
In Oakland, yeah.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
I'd rather see the CSP part of it and see how it goes, and then move on to the state roads myself.
Well, I have to apply for the state roads anyway.
I know, but I'm just saying
So-
not, I would rather not include that in a motion at this time. And just see how it goes from the church to the corner store or to the railroad tracks. Just to see how it goes, how do they behave? How much activity do we see?
I know Kevin sat at the corner store, what, Saturday or Sunday? Trails opened this weekend.
Sunday.
We counted 43,
43 machines
yeah,
in a little over an hour.
and they were
On the
all
road or
going the
trail?
speed limit.
They were all on just riding.
On the roads,
Yeah,
which is against the law.
To the trail.
none of them were acting out that I saw.
Well, they were breaking law.
We don't have an enforcement of anything yet, so. Yeah,
So the hard part with the enforcement is we are only given a little bit on Title 12 laws. And we also don't have ways right now of running any registrations or anything. So until we have training on a lot of that stuff, it's hard for us to enforce it. The wardens are specifically trained for that stuff. So a lot of the times I'm calling them saying, what can I do with this? So that's the hard part that we're having is we're not trained enough on those laws, nor do we have a way to run their registration to find out if they're valid. So that's the part that we struggle with. On our side, we have to hope that there's a game warden around to be able to take care of that stuff. I do work well with our local game warden, who has been very helpful in that stuff, but unfortunately, they're a smaller agency too that has to cover a lot of area in the state, so they can't always be right here.
So my belief, if they're going to the corner store, that extra 74 yards is not gonna hurt a thing. And then if we're doing it for one gas station, the other gas station, it's not that far away. So I'll make a motion that we look into this, so that we can grant them permission to come down to the corner store down to Fabian, and we can designate a route if they come back by Pleasant Street or they come down Main Street, back down to this gas station, and just the triangle. That way they can get gas, they can get money, they can, so. That's my
I
motion.
can call the guy. to
Sir,
say-
Kevin,
Yes,
sorry.
President Kevin Baldwin, I'd like to take another direction around this issue, but just a lot smaller bite. For people that are riding the trails open, any place from South Oakland to North Oakland, road access from Bates Chapel to Railbed, that 7/10 of a mile is crucial, because right now behind the Buxton House, that is only accessible by canoe. And after you get through that pond, you're heading up to 10 lots, and that trail is all rock and stuff and pebbly, so you would not open that up.
Yeah, I'm not opening that this summer until I can get an excavator in there and redo that bill.
So essentially where we're at, if anybody, like I said, from South Oakland to North of Oakland, and even other places, if you go down from the Bates Chapel, just that 7/10 of a mile to railbed, you're in violation. So I would appeal to the council tonight to at least improve that short section so people can at least run.
So from the Bates Chapel
Yeah.
To the railhead.
to the railbed?
7/10 mile, and you know, it's not city valve, it's a road road.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll include that. So I'd like to make a motion that we open up from the Bates Chapel to the railbed, and then from the 10 lots down to corner store, Fabian's, the triangle for them to ride, and then you
Will be
apply
state
for the state,
approval.
you apply for state
Yeah.
approval. And when you get that, you can go ahead and open it up. That's my motion.
Sometimes have, like, council does have right to prove tonight from Bates to the railhead, right?
Yes.
That's us.
We can go all the way into town.
Yeah.
So my suggestion would be to go from Bates Chapel, that corner, at the Oakland line, all the way into the corner store, to Fabian on town streets. People are gonna do what they're gonna do once they get in town anyways.
The road to Fabian's is a state road. Dave, from the corner store to Fabian's is a state road.
Right.
So we can't give permission for that right now.
I have to apply for
She has to apply for that.
That lower, that small section.
That whole road is, that lower.
But that's part of Oak Street, right?
That's Oak Street.
Daryl Betts said,
State road's
10 lots.
137.
I think 137 was up
And Bates.
of Oak
he
Street.
said Oak Street and 10 lots are town ways under our jurisdiction.
That's okay.
So if that's the case, Pleasant Street's ours.
I can ask him about this street. I just know we had to meet with DOT to talk about access for off the trail. that we're gonna put
Because if you go 137, that's goes Main Street, Oak Street, the High Street, doesn't count Pleasant Street.
Okay.
23 Main Street Road lot, but
Okay.
Based on the GPS market, that's all that is.
All right,
Second that.
so you want to take what your motion is.
all right, so tonight we'll
So
open,
again, nope, the motion on the floor is from the old Bates Church down to the railroad bed and down Oak Street to the corner store. And I guess we need clarification on Oak Street to Fabian's.
we need clarification from on Pleasant Street.
Right, yep, so.
I think Oak Street, we're good to the railroad.
There you go.
I don't think so. I think that's a state road.
But he said Oak Street and 10 lots are in our jurisdiction.
Right.
They're our decision.
If you go to a GPS marking, it goes 137 is Main Street, Oak Street, High Street.
So
Pleasant Street's not part of the route.
And
I'll check.
I think they did that, we asked the state to make, so it went down Main Street. Instead of going by what was then high school. We wanted traffic coming into town to turn left and go down Main Street and then go wherever they went. For the benefit of the merchants.
So I think if you just, for right now, if you said from 10 lots, the entirety of 10 lots from the Oakland line to the end of 10 lots, and then from 10 lots, Oak Street to the corner store.
There you go. And they're gonna do.
And then they're gonna do what they're gonna do.
They're gonna do what they're gonna do.
Okay, and I'll work on.
And then once we get all that out, we can add an addendum to it or modify it.
I'll second.
Motion's been made second, all in favor? Opposed? Got that, Kelly opposed. Kevin, you all set with that?
So just a verification thing, okay?
I've already done that.
Okay. I'm a little slow.
No, it's fine, Kevin. Right, what you said.
So we're all set, like, when trails open, I can ride Bates Chapel to the rail bed to not be in violation.
You can drive from there, corner store to get a pizza.
Thank you.
And
How about from the corner store? That's still up for discussion.
She's got to check with the state on that one, Kevin. Okay,
If you don't, they go to the corner store, they're either going to Fabian or. We got them to, we got it to the corner store at step one.
I gotta check with the state.
But you do know that they are in compliance. When it ends at the corner store, for 1,500 feet to a business or trip. Yes.
I did read that. It's in here.
okay. Next item up, sign the RSU 18 warrant.
Yep, Kathy has those, our 218 budget, district budget meeting warrant. Gonna be a 2-question referendum on June 10th.
I think tomorrow night is the meeting on that, isn't it?
Last week was.
Last week.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was there.
Tomorrow night.
you were the moderator, right? Did it go well? A lot of questions? People, number of people, you do go?
There weren't a lot of people. And there was like one question for half of.
We had MFTC award tonight, but we got $2,000.
But everything half as they suggest.
I didn't go.
This is the entire school budget talking now?
Yeah, they're completely separate from the town, although we.
It has to be voted on.
So on June tenth, we go over on it.
Yes. Come right here and cast a vote, 2-question vote.
So is the budget still gonna be online, so?
Yes,
Look at it, see what the vote passes?
yes. So if you go to r218.org and you'll,
RSU 18 downward.
yep, you'll go to the district budget, then up there it says finances. If you go and click finances, and then it'll have the proposed budget right there.
How many, you got 15?
7.
Your favorite one.
We gotta post them, right? Yeah. We have to post them all over town.
That's a symphony.
Our next item up is talk about the Axon body cameras. Chief, are you doing that?
I'll answer any questions. If it's been fine, point.
That's fine. No, I didn't know where we're going on that.
Technical finance questions, we could. Second one.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you. Hi, Ken.
Did we get any updated pricing or?
Yes, I gave that to Kelly, I think a couple days later, I do have my copy here, they were able to approve, monthly payments. So it looks like they'll be, I have to find it. Each month, it would be about, after the first down payment would be the second contract. The other 9% December. But in December, and then the monthly payments would look at $2,100.76 a month. And they would approve the monthly payments that way.
How long is it for?
The contract is for 5 years.
That's just the cameras.
So, yeah, just to be clear, that would,
Yeah, this
that
includes
includes
the
the AI.
AI.
The grant, I wrote, would only cover the cameras, it would not cover the AI. I want to be very clear about that, and then I do not budget for anything next year as far as cameras go.
So if this is a no, then you would have to wait 1 year.
Correct.
I know there's gonna be some discussion about the timing. And I don't disagree with the timing, it just seems odd. I understand the need.
And the other option that we have, which I think I gave the other quote last time, is we get the cameras, the basic cameras, they don't have any of the AI. We do have the option part throughout the contract to upgrade to get the AI. So if we do the basic, the just cameras just record at this time. If we get that grant money, that covers the whole cost. As long as, I think you said the grant was what, between 40 and 50,000?
15.6.
Between 50 and 60. So the camera quote for just the basic cameras, all they do is record, we send it away. That was quoted at 50, just under 50,000. So if we decided for next year's budget, if we wanted to do the AI, we do have that option to upgrade in the contract to get that stuff.
And we're sure that if we enter into an agreement with Axon right now and the grant comes in after the contract's already been signed, that they'll go good for it.
Correct. Yeah, then they know our situation.
What happens if we don't get the grant?
Well, that's the risk. That's the risk. It's not guaranteed. I feel confident we get it, but it's not guaranteed.
So if we pay the 1,200, which we got a donation for, the Reese family, July. That would be in the December, we'd owe $11,000, then 6 months at $2,023. But we'd be able to put the rest of it in a budget.
I apologize, I may have missed something, a meeting or two, I did, and I'm not sure what. The grant is for the cameras and can buy the cameras with or without. Explain to me, please, the AI, what that does
That-
for the camera.
It's a feature, artificial intelligence that it translates our reports, writes it for us. Like, so for instance, if Tiffany did a 6-hour interview, it would transcribe the whole interview into report form.
So I did a 4.5-hour interview a couple months ago, and when we got this trial, I uploaded it. It took me 15 minutes, whereas I'd already been working on it for days, trying to type it out for everything. That took 15 minutes, and I was back out on patrol rather than sitting at my desk for hours trying to type it.
So the AI is for writing the report, what the camera
Yep.
sees.
It assists with writing reports, and it also shows the, I talked about it last time, options with that is rather than them having to sit there and listen to the whole 4.5-hour video, which we all know they don't do. They can actually search in the type bar, in the video to find those particular words, and it will jump them to that report so that they can see all of those.
Thank you.
Just to make this perfectly clear too to everyone, that is that the chief didn't just dream this up, and I'll take the blame for it. Because I happened to be on the budget committee for Kennebec County, and I knew chief had talked to me before, and said, yeah, they were looking at it, and I'm the one, and I blame it all on me. I really don't care, because I believe in police officer safety. I went to chief, I said, man, we gotta look into this Axon. And it really is a good program, because Dave, you know, as being a police officer, there's a lot of stuff happens out there. And chief does, and Tiffany does, and a lot of stuff happens. And we don't see that stuff as a normal citizen. And all of a sudden they come back to chief and they said, this guy did this and this and this. Well, hang right on, sir. Well, let's take a look at this, you know. She just got recently attacked by a guy with a chain and a padlock on the end of it. If they had that, if the district attorney who came in and said, this is a phenomenal system. You know, I know chief was saying you're looking at some lesser system, but I looked into that lesser system also and found that they're gonna get one camera. At the end of 5 years, these people will probably get 3 cameras. They'll get the one to start out with, then they'll return that one, they'll get a new one after 36 months, is that right? Halfway through. And then they'll get that camera, and then halfway through, they'll get another camera. And, you know, it's not gonna save a cop's life. It will not save the police officer's life. The only life that's gonna be saved is if they get another patrolman or whatever. But just like in firefighting, we buy new equipment because it's gonna save a firefighter's life. These people are dealing with more and more horrific crimes daily with drugs, and the drug environment is, they just had a guy get beat up right over here this week. Got his nose broke, got his eye orbits broke, you know. It could have been one of them, could have been a police officer get that done. So, you know, to me, I feel that, and I'll stand all day long, proud as can be, of talking to the chief and saying, can we please look into Axon? Because this will keep our fellow police officers, you know, somewhat safe. It will keep us, and I tell people all the time, we're about this far away from getting sued all the time. We're walking on thin ice constantly because everyone now is looking to sue you. So for me, I think it's a wise decision. I think that Tiffany's done a lot of homework on it. I thank you for all that time spent. And you know what? And yes, it come in after the budget season. I understand that. Someone said, oh, it's kind of peculiar. It come in after the budget. Well, if it come in before the budget, I'd have been voting for it then too. And I said, you know what? I'll try to raise money for it. Because I believe in police officer safety, just like Dave back there, he believes in his firefighter safety. And it's for a safer firefighter. It's for a safer police officer. Yes, but it wasn't the chief's fault and it wasn't Tiffany's fault. Blame it on me, Mike Perkins. Sir,
So we will.
thank you. I knew you would. I got broad shoulders.
How many cameras out of this? Each officer get a camera or is it?
Yes. Quote for base numbers is 12 cameras. So that will cover our department and a reserve officer.
And the reason we do that, instead of just having cameras for the people that are on call or on duty.
So these cameras are considered evidence-based. So just like you would be able to walk into our evidence room whenever you feel like it, these are stamped. These have our call number, our name, timestamps, and it's evidence-based in the cloud. So only I can access my stuff and it's labeled with my name.
Thank you.
Axon can find them at any time because they are GPS also so hooked right in. So if chief wants to know where they are, they can. Kelly.
I'm not opposed to cameras at all. I understand the logic behind them. I've been doing a lot of reading about them. I've been talking to different officers that use them. I understand the concept. Like I said before, Kobe Security has cameras. So I understand that. I'm not happy that it came 2 weeks after town budget. And I don't know who to blame or anything like that, and I'm not gonna blame anybody. I don't think that was appropriate. I feel like we're setting ourselves up to continuously keep buying new things for new departments after the budget goes through. And this is not our budget, this is the town's budget. And I'm not a big fan of AI. AI is the new all be all. I don't trust it. I've done some talking with some folks about AI and it has been proven to be reliable in law enforcement. The ACLU, has written a white paper about it, that it may not be as rock solid as law enforcement is believing it will be. I'm not a fan of us moving forward with AI. I simply think we're losing our ability to use our own brains to write our own reports so that we can remember things. So I'm not opposed to cameras. I'm opposed to the timing 100%. And I'm 100% opposed to AI.
Chief.
I just want to answer, I hear that a lot, why did it come after the budget? Because we believe we had been awarded a grant. That's why I did not budget for it. We didn't find out until after, or actually during the budget process, or shortly thereafter, that funding had been withdrawn. That is why,
January and March, when people were notified of the grant.
that's when I found out, I'm telling you when I found out.
I don't disagree with that.
So,
Last year,
we're
we
trying
changed to the budget
We're trying to see something.
2 days, 3 days before we voted on things as well. And brought in all kinds of new equipment as well. So I think it could have been discussed.
We got a grant.
They're sure the AI stuff. So a lot of people think AI and they think things like ChatGPT. That is not law enforcement friendly. That stuff goes out to the world and anyone can go online. With the AI portion of this, there is specific things. We cannot take that report from the AI and copy and paste it into a report. We have to physically go through it. It will not let you copy anything from that program into what we use to turn our reports in until we have physically signed off. There is also something that I've spoken with the DA's office and anyone who has, it's called Draft One. Anyone who has that software, we have to have a paragraph down at the bottom that I have already gone into the system and put in, so it forces every single officer who uses this program to have in their report that this report has been generated by Draft One. And that you were signing up, that you physically went through it, proofread it, added everything, because what Draft One does is it gives you the basics, the nuts and bolts. For instance, I'm not going to, for a sexual assault case, I'm still going to use it to get the baseline, the timeline, but it's not meant to just do your report for you. You still have to put thought into it. The thing that it helps with is time saving. I know that as a town, as a council, we want to see us out doing more traffic stuff. We know that. But when we're stuck behind a desk for 6 hours of our 12-hour shift writing reports, we're not out on the road as much. So it's time saving in that sense because you're not paying us to sit at a desk. And it's making it so it gives the timeline out at least. And then I go through and I put all of the very imminent details that I feel need to be in there. How the victim was feeling. It'll tell you, there was a lot of issues, like everyone was very upset. But you need to put in there why that person was upset. What were they saying? What were they showing? You have to still physically put that in there. You can't go forward without that. And that's why I found I've played with ChatGPT and other AI software. Not a fan. I will tell you that. But this draft one system has changed and it's only 4.
Dana,
I'm sure when the chief hires an officer, and he's got some good ones, he doesn't check too much into their report writing skills. He's looking for a police officer that can do the job and work with the town and take care of things. So this is slow work for a police officer that is trained to be a police officer, writing reports. So I think the AI part of it is very important because this article about Somerset County here goes into it quite deep about it. Gives an outline of the report so they can read it over, make sure it agrees with what they thinking in their head. And then they can get their report done. And the only complaint I think I've ever had against our police department is the people drive too fast by my house. And the only way we can stop that is to keep the police officers on the road. And we can't have them in the office writing reports. That's not a good use of their time, as far as I'm concerned. I think we need them out on the road, so. And it's proven from the people that use this, that it gets the officer back out on the road much quicker. So they get more time to check the speed that's going by people's houses. And I think, maybe you folks, anybody that talks to me about the police department, that's the only thing they say. I wish they'd check the speed that's going by my house. So I think it's a great feature to get that officer back on the road. We can't afford another officer, but we can afford to get these ones back on the road quicker, I think.
It's just like Mike had mentioned with the person getting assaulted, that was my fault. My report's done.
Yeah.
And I was there for a couple hours handling that. And, it saved my time. Other than that, I would be sitting there for hours trying to type up everything for all the interviews that I did, all the witnesses. So whereas it saved me 10 times that, I would still be sitting on that, couple weeks trying to get everything typed up.
in the heat of the moment, a lot is said and a lot is done, and you might not be able to remember all that. But it's all recorded. It's nothing artificial about it. It is real intelligence. Sir,
It's not artificial intelligence, it's transcription service. Thank you, just what it's doing. Taking the voice, putting it down. It's not artificially introducing anything, but it makes them more efficient.
absolutely.
One of the things that I've found is I'm not someone that uses very large words. And that's a few things that I've noticed that it'll put very large words that I have to look up in a thesaurus or something. So I have learned that those are words that I'm not going to put in my report. I will look up on Google what other word I can use that I would use in my regular vocabulary. Because it's not changing anything. It's just using the verbiage that is not something I would use.
Bob, last meeting when we talked about this, Megan Maloney was here, prosecutor, and is 100% in favor of this because the legal world is accepting these reports because they're more accurate than the one like Mike just reported. After the rush of everything is over with, you try to sit down and remember everything that happened. This thing will tell you everything that happened and you can use whatever you want of it.
And I think too that there are lots of policies, procedures that allow a community to keep a working police force. Not the least of which is how they're able to do their job and do the parts of their job that they enjoy doing or the public expects them And sitting in a room alone typing into a computer is not good use of the offices that we have. So if, I understand the budget thing. But budgets are just budgets and there's always things that come up in budgets. Money that you thought you were gonna spend that you don't, money that you didn't anticipate having to spend. And I think this is a good use of money to make our police force more effective and so that they are happier in their work than they would be without.
So this is coming out of the police department's budget, right? This is coming out of the police department's budget, or is it?
We would have to go to a special town meeting.
Pardon me?
We would have to go to hold a special town meeting to approve these funds. People would have to have a show of hands to yay or nay, because it's over the $10,000 threshold.
Even if it's done monthly.
But where's it coming from? You still gotta approve it.
Even if it's
Well, we have to pay 11,
You're doing a monthly payment.
well,
But in December, you make $11,000.
we have an $11,000 payment.
$11,000 payment in November.
So,
But to be completely upfront with it, it's, that money is all for the same thing, so we ought to be upfront.
We
This is
have
what
to
we're
tell
gonna
people what
spend.
we're doing.
And even though we don't spend more than 10,000 at one time, the whole thing is gonna cost more than 10, so we need to be upfront with it. And let the people vote on it. Anybody I've talked with is in favor of getting our police officers out on the street and stuff. So I think it's a worthwhile thing to go to the public with again, and we haven't heard a lot of opposition to any of that I have.
so what we could do is go to a special town meeting, ask for $23,455.52 to be paid monthly or the 11th, the big deposit in December and then the 6 months till June. And then next budget season, we put $12,000 in for the next 4 years to pay the $2,023 monthly.
With any luck, we can bring that down, right? Okay.
And if we get the grant, better.
And there is a possibility they can go up to 60,000.
This is something no one said anything. This is an officer retention tool also. Go ahead.
That's what I was trying to say, you know.
Go ahead.
Not as accurately as you did. No,
You won't get a blame me, really, you know. You know, it really becomes a law enforcement retention tool. Because now the police officer feels that he or she is taped in wherever it sits on their chest or shoulder, left, right, or whatever. This is what I said. Hang on, chief. Watch what I said. Watch what I did. This is how it came about. And then, oh, you're good to go. Well, that officer spit on me a punch bag. Well, hang on, chief. Push the button. Watch what happened. You know, the chief, and I've talked to him, but he's not gonna use this as a tool and to watch and say, where were they? What did they do? Why didn't they stop 3 cars last night? You only stopped 1 car all night. Chief, this is not what this is about. Chief has already said to me more than once that this is all about protecting his men and women of the law enforcement. And it really helps them. And I know from past experience, an OUI could take you as much as 3.5 hours. Time you get that report. And they're asking for a lot more information than when I did it 10 years ago, and a lot more information. So now an OUI could cost you 5 or 6 hours. Well, you have a 10-hour shift and you just got an OUI 2 hours into it. The rest of your shift, you didn't go up, check doors, you didn't drive around, you didn't see the drunk kid, you didn't see the guy down to the gazebo. You know, there's just all these things that you didn't see, you know, so. Anyway. So you need a motion.
If you want to move forward to have a special town meeting, but I say we break it up and we do the special town meeting for the year 1 payment,
Yes.
23,000.
But we can explain that to them why we're doing
Yeah,
it.
and then we'll make sure we get it in the budget for the monthly payments for the next 4 years.
I'd make a motion, we proceed with this, including the AI. I think we need that. And when we're ready to have the whole package put together, we go to a special town meeting and the people of Oakland can vote on how they want to spend their money.
GPS is part of it, right?
Yes.
I don't know. I think for us to get the number down to not 170-something thousand, we have to remove the GPS part.
Right, I'm
Gonna
just
make
thinking,
apple air.
I think about Deputy Cole when he was missing. If there was GPS in it, if you had a camera with GPS in it, it would have found him in
They
seconds.
through us because it's further ahead.
We've actually talked to Husky and we've got a quote for putting that in our radios, our new radio, not mobile, but radios in our cruiser, and we're gonna budget for that. It's the cost is minimal, but much less than what it would be here, and it's basically the same service.
So a motion has been made. Do we have a second? By Dave, all in favor? Opposed? There you go. Thank you, chief. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you.
Next up is a cemetery tree stump update.
So last meeting, we talked about some of the stumps along the boat landing fence, and then there's a couple stumps in Lakeview Cemetery. AJ has identified a couple more trees that need to come down. We have cemetery trust funds available for stuff like this. So I've asked him to go ahead and get a couple quotes on stump grinding. And what it would cost to take the trees he's identified down. I know last year we did $9,500 in tree removal.
You did quite a few.
We did. It made a big difference because there was they were dangerous. They were coming down in storms. Big branches were falling. So, to be continued. I've asked him to get a couple quotes on that. And I'll bring that back to council.
I understand the trees and the trees are a problem. They fall down, cutting and stuff. I'm less troubled by the stumps thing. And I guess I need to take a ride down and look at the stumps.
I know, I need to go over and look at them
The
too.
world is full of stumps.
How close are they to the lake?
They're the ones that I brought forward, because they called me and asked me, they're run along
Fence
the fence on
by the porta
Lakeview
potty.
Drive, no.
No.
Oh, across from AJ's garage, that road,
Okay.
what is that road?
Belgrade.
Old
Belgrade.
Belgrade.
So they run along there, there's like 15 of them. Stumps.
And they're kind of grown into that old wrought iron fence, aren't they? When they grew or something, they took it down a few years ago.
They're
but
about this high ground.
They were looking so bad, I know. But I think isn't there a wrought iron fence or something along there with them? Go by there every day.
I do, I live there. Not in the cemetery. Some people like to live there. That's okay.
And the individual, so cemetery tree stump, I'll get back to you on that once I get pricing from AJ, but we had a visitor at the boat landing that was making himself at home. We've had to trespass him from the library, and we've now trespassed him from the boat landing. So just wanted to make you aware of that.
Anything else?
That is all I have.
Kelly, did you have anything?
No.
Dave, did you have?
I also.
One of the things that the legislature is struggling with is houseboats. Has Oakland had any mention or troubling houseboats?
That I am aware
It
of.
seems to be popular now to build a shack on a float.
We have one.
And stick it in the water.
We do?
We have
Okay.
We do?
But the state owns the water, so.
What lake?
Pestalozzi.
And the people who have property on the lake, if this individual decides to park their camp right in front of the,
There's nothing they
right
can
in
do.
front of the real camp, well, the state's trying to figure out something. I just wanted, we had one.
We have one, it's on their land, though, they own an island, and they park it on their dock, on their island. I don't believe that it's even being used, they don't. there's not really much in it. It's pretty abandoned, but
And there
yeah.
was some issue, was it last summer, where somebody had a big boat on Massillon?
The sailboat. The sail. Is that, say what? They haven't been there since the thing. Okay. But there was one there.
Executives.
And they would access that by the boat landing. But we don't have a harbor. In order to enforce that, you need a harbor master.
Right.
And Oakland does not have a harbor master. Belgrade does.
Almost. And almost.
Motion to adjourn.
Hold on.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Something first, my name is Barbara Oakland, I'm a resident of Oakland, and also the president of the Kennebec State Trails Board. And this is a little late, I kind of got, blindsided by it when we were at the annual meeting. But I was wondering, it looks like we used to, give some funding to the homeless shelter, the Mid-Maine Homeless Shelter. And we decided not to this year. That's correct, right? And
Yeah.
they did request it.
Correct.
So I just would like to know your thinking.
Well, I cut it out of the budget before I gave it to the counselors, and the budget advisory committee, because I had to make cuts to our operations budget. And once I have to do that, I feel that is an added expense that could be going for a camera for the police department, or, you know, for the fire department. So I cut out $500,000 out of the budget before I even presented it. And that was part of it.
I guess I would suggest though that, the $3,000 to support the shelter is a pretty small amount. And they have, since we lived here, which is only, coming up on 4 years, they've had some dire straits. And I think that it's a little bit penny wise and pound foolish to not support them, because we have obviously problems on the trails with people camping with encampments. We call out law enforcement. You have more pressure. All of the other systems, fire, and certainly now our ambulance systems are more pressured than they were. And I guess I would like to just put forward one opinion, and I think that our Trails Board would also support this, that I would like to see us put that back in the budget for next year.
The point behind it would be if we didn't get any third-party request money, nobody got it. So if we start going down the road of, well, we'll do this one, and then this one will come back, so we want this one. So the decision was made, instead of just favoring one, they're all just. They have other means to.
But there were conservation groups that got money, right?
Correct.
But they weren't directly related.
Yeah, I really think it's penny wise and pound foolish, because I think that it's putting more pressure on your police, your fire, and your healthcare systems. And, regardless of how you feel about the humanitarian aspects of it, I would have liked to have seen it. And as, we both work with the trail system, and, this problem is not gonna get better this year. It's gonna be harder and harder. And I love the fact, I don't know if you guys have toured the Mid-Maine Homeless Shelter, but it is very professional with people, and they're trying to get people jobs. They're trying to work with landlords and people, kids who get pushed out of foster care end up with no place to go. There's a lot of, reason to continue to support.
Dana made a good suggestion to me, and I'm working with our finance director to create account lines within our budget, that if people want, while they're in registering their car, their boat, or their ATV, they want to give a donation for $5 to the homeless shelter, we can put it in that account line, and twice a year, we can cut them a check.
I thought we said not to do that.
No, we're not gonna do a box. Remember, we're gonna do a box, but we're not doing a box. We're just, if we're gonna put a list up. And here's a list of all the people that, asked for money. If you wish to donate money to them.
I thought we decided not to be that third party of collecting funds and distributing funds. That we would create a list of agencies that we had supported in the past so that
Which I
people could make their own.
Did put in the town report.
We weren't going to be that pass-through. That's what I voted on last meeting. That we were not gonna be a pass-through to that. I'll look at the minutes.
I'm sorry. This discussion is not new this year. This is a discussion that's been in every budget since I remember. I remember back several decades. And at one point, the town gave lots and lots of money to lots and lots of agencies, including public broadcast and other third party. And over time, the makeup of the council, the budget advisory committee has changed, and discussion is always, do you give money to these people who probably are very worthwhile organizations and like the homeless shelter? And, or do you not do that because by the town raising the money by taxes, we're forcing you to give money to the town that the council and the budget advisory committee then distributes to agencies on, that they feel are deserving. And wouldn't it be better if you thought the homeless shelter was deserving, that you give your money
Well,
instead of being forced under penalty of losing your home if you don't pay all your taxes? And that's the discussion. And so there are two
You're
sides.
giving how much money to the flower farm? And I don't get to say, could we give 3,000 of that to the homeless shelter? I know that's what you have decided and you're voting on. And that's kind of how civilization works, right? But I just want that opinion. And I think a homeless shelter is a little bit different than a lot of other things because it's so fundamental. And you end up with these people on your streets who are desperate. And we don't want that. I mean, the police don't want that, the firefighters don't want that. I don't want that in my backyard.
Understood.
We don't have the services here in Oakland to support the homeless.
Right,
That's
but
why
we do
support
have
them.
the Navy homeless shelter, which is serving us. And so I think that, I think there are probably plenty of people who might be wandering the streets in Oakland if we didn't have a Navy homeless shelter. So I think it's a jam, we should support it in any way we can. And I would argue that it is different than a lot of the other things that we support.
Well, I think it's different too than comparing it to the flowers. The flowers beautify the town. It's like painting a town office. I mean, don't you think?
I'm a professional horticulturist. I love flowers. I love gardening. I'm actually a fruit specialist. But, yeah, if someone doesn't have a roof over their head or we're gonna lose the homeless shelter, or we are even voicing public support for something that's important to all of us. I guess that would be where.
I just tried to give you the two sides of the argument, which has been going on since time immemorial. And it was a democratic process this year. The votes were taken on the council, the votes of the budget advisory committee. And at the end of the day, the decision was not to fund.
Was it last year that we had the discussion, was it the homeless shelter that was admitting pedophiles so they wouldn't put families in there with kids?
Families
We had
had
to
to go
find
to
somewhere else
Augusta.
for families with kids to go because they.
It's a low barrier homeless shelter. You can bring your dog too. I mean, it is.
I think that was part of the discussion last year, not this year, but last year was people were upset that we're calling this a homeless shelter, but you can't send any family, like a lady that has to leave her house due to domestic problems, can't go there with their kids because they have pedophiles they allow in there.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of opposition last year to giving that money to that organization
Okay.
for that reason.
Notice, thank you. Kevin?
So do we actually have a list in the town office?
The list is in your town
It's in
report.
the town report.
So should it not be a problem if anybody specifically wants to come in while they're paying bills? Can donate to whichever cause they want and the town turn that over?
We
But
voted
what we
last
did is,
meeting not to do that.
instead of being a collection agency, we said we weren't gonna do that. Thinking, like for me, I give to the animal shelter. I have no problem doing it, okay? But, so I just happen to drive with kids all day and we swing in, I drop off check. So other than having someone in the town office be a third-party handler, you know, so. Noted, thank you. Motion was made to adjourn. Was it a second by David? Did you
Sure.
second that, Dave?
Sure.
All in favor? Thanks, folks. Have a good night.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's it.